专注度没有在自身，然后去。
You see that, Triple C? Did the Schmo jinx Weili? She's on the couch, that serious, intimate moment. It's countdown, and he got the Schmo over her left shoulder. Ooh.
That was, dude. I gotta give the Schmo some shine. So no, I mean, I think if anything, Schmo, I think you're the good luck charm. It just so happens to be that's just the way the fight can go. There's always a winner, and there's always a loser.
And with that said, welcome back to the Triple C and Schmo show. I'm the Schmo. My co-host has an Olympic gold medal and a 2-division champion, Henry the Messenger Cejudo.
Let's get this ball rolling, Schmo, because time is money and money is time. Let's go.
Indeed, the Schmo is fresh off of a plane. We're a little jet-lagged. We came straight from Madison Square Garden, and that is the best way to introduce our gold medal moment. Because our show, as you know, Mr. Olympian, we got the gold medal moment, the silver medal moment, and the bronze medal moment. So the gold medal moment, let's start with this. There's 2 UFC title fights at the Mecca Madison Square Garden. Let's start with Usman and Covington. Were you surprised by Colby Covington's performance in any shape or form?
You know what? I wasn't. If anything, Schmo, I think I was a bit disappointed, to be quite honest with Colby, because there's at times when you go through war, the first time that he did with Kamaru Usman, and you go and you try to, and if you're not ready for it mentally, you won't fight the same. So I think even watching Colby Covington's, like seeing him walk out, I can tell there was something different with him. I can tell he didn't necessarily have that swagger of confidence. Like, all right, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to claim my stake. So, and you could tell in the fight, he was just super cautious since the last time they fought. I think Kamaru Usman was a little more focused. And for that reason, when you have that vibe and that energy, I think in order for you to beat a guy like Kamaru Usman, because the wrestling nullifies itself, you're going to have to bring the fight. You're going to have to make it dirty. And Colby Covington did not do that.
On the note of body language, all of the body language police were out on weigh-in days because he held his hands over his crotch when he weighed in as 169.4 pounds on this scale. You know something? When the Schmo was watching this fight live, the Schmo scored it 4-1 for Usman. I thought this fight was not as close as the first fight. And let's just say this. It's not that Colby Covington didn't perform well. Kamaru Usman just got that much better. Listen, I'm not saying ring rust is a real thing, but Usman definitely polished up his skills. Trevor Whitman, let's just give this man his shine. 3 for 3 yesterday. Come on, I know he did. He's fighting against Weili, but the boxing was so crisp, the head movement and everything like that. And he was taking Colby's best shots. Colby shot early, Mr. Wrestler. He was going for the wrestling. Those takedowns were nullified. They were stopped. And Usman, man, he just looked jacked in there, man. He just looked like the stronger, more confident fighter. And it just begs the question for the Schmo. At this point, because we said this last episode, that if he gets through Covington, which we predicted, he'd be the greatest welterweight of all time. The Schmo thinks he's the greatest welterweight of all time. Does Triple C think that Usman's the greatest welterweight of all time?
Of course, without a doubt. I mean, GSP has done some amazing things, but GSP has also had close fights. I mean, you can almost put an asterisk when he fought Hendricks. He's had close fights before. And like I said before, man, the Kamaru Usman is putting people away. He's hurting people. I mean, he's literally knocking people out senselessly. He wasn't able to do it against Colby Covington, but you can't deny it, man. Those numbers don't lie. And, there's a reason why Kamaru Usman is pound for pound. And the crazy thing about it too, Schmo, is there is a lot of room for improvement that I see with Kamaru Usman. He has the ability, but there's a lot of things that he needs to tighten up, whether it's going to be some things off his takedowns, or even he tends to have a tendency of slouching his head down when he throws combinations, and things like that scare me because those are patterns. So even though he is training with the great Trevor Whitman, man, if I was a welterweight, I'd be looking out for that and really timing uppercuts. But nonetheless, Kamaru Usman is the greatest welterweight of all time. So hope all you Canadians out there in Canada are paying attention, because the Nigerian Nightmare is the king and the greatest welterweight in history.
And he's looking for history because last month, early October, when the Schmo was in Denver, he told the Schmo that he wanted to box Canelo Alavarez for #1 pound-for-pound combat sports athlete on the planet. Dana shut that down at the press conference yesterday, saying he doesn't want that. But the serious conversation then is, what's it going to take to be on the list? Because we both agree he's the greatest welterweight of all time. What's it going to take to be the greatest MMA fighter of all time? Because we both also agree that John Jones is at the top of the list. But look, what's it going to take? Because yesterday the Schmo, or on Saturday the Schmo rather, asked Usman at the press conference, deep down in your heart, would you fight at middleweight? And then, he said this before, $100 million would be the only way he fights Izzy, $50 million apiece. They'll figure out a way to share. But what do you think it would take to get Usman in the conversation of greatest of all time? Will it take being a 2-division champion, or do you think he doesn't need that?
No, he needs to. Two is better than one. I'd put myself ahead of Usman as of right now. As a matter of fact, Schmo, this is the way I have it: John Jones, Demetrius Johnson, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, and I'm about to put Triple C and #5 in Gold Mountain, just for the sake of I have 2 belts and the people that I've beat in the best of my generation. There's something to be said whenever it is that you do have a second belt, because that's really pound for pound. When you're able to go up the next 10 to 15 pounds and defeat your opponent, I mean, that's something to be said. You've already lapped the division, Kamaru Usman. You already beat Kobe twice. You've already beat Masvidal a couple times too. I mean, the winner of Masvidal and Edwards, I mean, you're gonna beat Edwards again. There's only one take in my side, and that's saying go up and fight your African brother, because you know what, this is about legacy. I'm sure if it's the African pride, I kind of get that, but I don't get that. Actually, as a matter of fact, I really don't get that, because to me, it's all about legacy. Somebody else, in the near future is going to be able to go through the same run that Kamaru Usman did. But the difference is can you win a second belt, and can you fend that second belt? And that's what I want for the Nigerian Nightmare. I want him to go up. I want him to fight Izzy. And I just believe he has a perfect style to beat somebody like Izzy, because he has wrestling.
What the Schmo appreciates the most about what you did, Triple C, is when you got that bantamweight belt, you defended it against what many people call the consensus greatest bantamweight of all time, and Dominic Cruz, and you got that win. Then you retired. So you got the belt.
I knocked him out senseless.
That's right. The Schmo was there in Jacksonville, baby. That's right, man. And then as you were signing off, you called for a fight for Dana White to make, and that guy's still running scared. We all know what we're talking about. So let's go to the other event that had championship gold on the line. This one hits close to home. Weili against Rose 2. But here's the situation. Weili, she outstruck her, and she won in the takedown department. So it begs the question, Triple C, how did you score this fight?
Man, as a competitor, I would even give Weili, as a competitor, just the pure heart of what is it that the person did. I would give Weili round 1, 2, and 3 to her. Really, the only problem is it doesn't matter what Triple C thinks, because there's 3 judges that you had to convey. And I tell you what, round 5 was probably the deciding factor, because round 2 could have been a swing round, Schmo. And
that's the way the Schmo saw it. Swing round.
And that's exactly what happened there. Is like Rose might have stole that round, because at the very end, she ended up on top. And those are things that we've always trained and we always talked about during training. You always want to end up in the best position possible. And Weili did her best. As you saw, the wrestling came intact. I mean, she was kicking the front leg. As I told her, she was wrestling. She followed the game plan. The only problem is you got to give credit where credit is due. And Rose went out there and she literally blitzed for that takedown. She took her down. She controlled her on top. And Weili, at the highest levels, and we talked about it, what we probably should have worked on more is her getting up. We probably underestimated Rose's takedowns, even though we're going over takedown defense, but more importantly, getting off from bottom, because takedowns don't mean anything if you can't control. But you got to give credit where credit is due. I mean, I want to go with my girl and let you know that she won, but at the end of the day, that means I would be a sore loser. Competitively, I would give it 3 rounds to 2 Weili, but I can understand why the judges probably swung that second round. She won second, fourth, and ultimately fifth. But these are lessons that we learned from. Weili's happy, and imagine, Schmo, I was with her for 7 weeks. 7 weeks. That's the amount of time that I had with her. This girl, I promise you, Schmo, and I promise to all you fans out there, she's gonna come back, and beware, because China will rise again.
And you know something, Triple C? What makes our show so special is we got you and your accolades. You got the Schmo with boots on the ground. We watched the fight live, and live we did score that second round for Rose and ultimately those championship rounds. Weili with the game plan, we saw those calf kicks early. She went for him. She was able to follow up with combinations. I saw the takedowns working, but with Rose, man, she got the takedown in the later rounds, in the championship rounds, and her ground game was strong. Her grappling, her BJJ, very underrated. She's so well-rounded, and she's strong, man. When she was able to stay on top in those championship rounds and have that control, it was able to solidify. And when you're the champion, you have to be dethroned. And it wasn't a situation where Weili 2.0, unfortunately, on this day, didn't do enough to sway the judges to do enough. But what we love is at the post-fight press conference, she was upbeat, she was positive, she reassured she'll be back there, Triple C, train with you guys, Eddie Cha, Triple C, captain, the whole Fight Ready team, and really be back. Because she will, because the Schmo feels like this isn't going to be the last time we see these two dance. I mean, Rose, I think, surpassed Joanna as the greatest 115er of all time right now. I think that we will see eventually a Weili and Rose 3, like we will see a Valentina Amanda Nunes 3. It's just something we think we're going to see. But the last question I'm going to ask you on this topic is, was there anything specific that you wanted to see Weili do that you guys worked on in the 7 weeks that she wasn't able to execute for some reason?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was like the scorpion. I think getting up top is putting a triangle on the leg from top control. That was the one thing. But honestly, Schmo, she did everything that we asked for. She kicked the legs. She wrestled towards the end. She ended up on top. I just think that fifth round, that championship round, really hurt her, and it sucks, man. Me as a coach, as a teacher, I'm not necessarily a coach. I'm a teacher. I'm a counselor. I can only give advice. I'm not there full time, but I was literally there with Weili every single day, and it just hurts me as a teacher, as a counselor, if you want to call me a part-time coach, to be able to see somebody that's worked so hard and be so close, and just for a mistake, tactically staying down there, and us as coaches not having her, to get back up and respecting maybe some of Rose's wrestling, and that was just it. I mean, you got to give credit where credit is due. I think this is what makes our show special, Schmo, is that we tell the truth. Yeah, we can fabricate things and we can be cringe or whatnot, but you got to give credit where credit is due. And as much as I want to see Weili win, I can understand why the judges had to swing it to Thug Rose, man. So congratulations to you, Rose, as much as I hate saying it, as much as I hate telling you, but we will be back and China will rise again.
All right, there it is, folks. Now let's get on to the silver medal moment. Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler. That's a fight that lived up and well beyond expectations. Modern day gladiators. Let's look at this point, though, Triple C. At the end, when he was getting interviewed by Schmo Rogan, Justin Gaethje mentioned something about them being fighters, gladiators at the wrong time, that those two were warriors, that they would have fought to the death in a different era. What do you make of that statement?
I tell you what, he is not lying. Because you imagine, man, like when Justin Gaethje said that, Schmo, he gave me the chills. I mean, it's something like, it's something really is out of like the gladiator, man, because that's exactly what we do. That was a good fight. That was a bar brawl, and they delivered.
Now let's move on to something you don't know about. Bronze. The bronze medal moment. It's going down this week. Let's look forward. Yair Rodriguez is fighting Max Holloway. Woo.
People are sleeping on Yair Rodriguez. Remember, Yair Rodriguez, he's got a chip on his shoulder, man. I know he's had that long layoff, and he's a friend of mine, but this guy has an ability, man. He can throw kicks from a mile away. I believe if he has a proper game plan against Max Holloway, takes his legs out, and maybe even potentially even take him down, why not? But surprise, surprise. And we all know it. The problem is that sometimes we have to have confidence to do it. I think if Yair Rodriguez is able to do that, I think he could beat and upset Max Holloway. You heard it here first.
Well, here's what the Schmo has to say about all of that. Both of these men have had some sort of significant layoff. However, Yair Rodriguez's layoff has been much more than Max Holloway. And with that said, the last time we saw Max Holloway inside the octagon, it was Abu Dhabi ABC for the public. And he put on a display. He set records in striking inside the cage. Listen, this guy, he is a Hall of Famer. Everyone says, hey, Schmo, you call these people Hall of Famers. Well, guess what? The Schmo only talks to these Hall of Famers, but they are Hall of Famers. Him being one of them, Max Holloway, just like you will be, Triple C. So I think that this is such a great fight that you can make the case that the winner here fights for the title next. Unless you, Triple C, have to say something about that.
Yeah, you know what, Shmo, I got to take care of my baby, man. I'm about to be a dad in the next couple of weeks, so I'm going to have to exit out of that plan, Shmo, because it's, man, I think, and I'm still training, I'm still doing all that, but it's a lot on my plate, man. And that's the only
You're coaching too.
And that's the only fight that I do want, Schmo. Like, yeah, I don't want the ugly potato Peter Yan or Brenda Moreno. Like, I want legacy, man. I want the gold. I want something that nobody's ever done, but not right now.
He's an honest guy. And with that said, let's go to this week's top moment. Look at UFC 268. 3 guys fighting for the first time in the UFC, all coming out on top in strong fashion. Let's start with Chris Curtis. Look at this guy, man. He was going to retire at one point from MMA. What he did losing in the PFL, he comes back. He does something spectacular. He takes down Phil Hawes, Megatron. You look at this guy's body, Megatron, man. All the hype around him. He takes him down. He knocks him out. And look at this, man. He wins in his first UFC fight. Then you got the anticipated, and he's under Glover Teixeira, Alex Pereira. Man, this guy's got this long body. He's going to be hard to take down. He's chasing Izzy. We know the story behind that. And then Ian Gary. Man, he's referencing Conor McGregor in the post-fight. Man, he's got to protect himself because he was tagged a bunch, but he slipped and he ripped it. He got him with that right hand. Kudos to him. He's got evolved, and he will. He's 23. He's the future. Those are the 3 guys for the top moment.
Yeah, and of course, man, but you're right, Schmo. He's gonna have to protect himself because he does have the ability, and he did go from Ireland to the US to Henry Hoops, but he's a tough kid, but toughness doesn't always get you world titles, or sometimes toughness is your worst enemy because when you do it too much, it's just a matter of time before you keep getting clip. And this is why they call it the glass jaw. So he's talented. He has the ability. He just needs more experience. You can't be in these firefights no more. You got lucky. The dude was on his way to beat you.
Now let's talk about some pillow fights. Dun-dun-dun. That's why the Schmo loves all the pillows on the couch. That's why we saw the pillow of the Schmo behind Weili. All the pillows. It's the hypothetical fights. Let's start with this. What's next for Kamaru Usman?
What's next for number 1? The Kamaru wants a little bit of that Canelo, man. He wants some of that Canelo money. But it looks like Dana White is he's not too enthusiastic. He knows that Canelo is he's dangerous. And obviously it's 2 different sports. But he did say that if Canelo was to come to MMA, which he won't, but if he did, he would want to make that fight happen. But anyways, I think the next fight for him is he needs to go after another belt. Plain and simple. When you start lapping people in 2-3 fights, like, forget it, man. You got to go after legacy, man. You guys are brothers. This is a competition, but at the end of the day, it is a competition. And I think Kamaru Usman should go up, fight Israel Adesanya, take that bout. 2 is better than 1, and you become the one and only African king.
Well, the Schmo asked him that very same question last night at the press conference, and he literally said to the Schmo, $100 million, man. That's more than Canelo money. That's $50 million a pop, and he doesn't want to fight his brother. So the Schmo simplifies it into this format. If Leon Edwards beats Jorge Masvidal, then I think that he should be fighting Usman. He gets the rematch. He had the storyline. What they last fought 2015, somewhere around there. Fact check the Schmo. If the Schmo's wrong, he's wrong. It's within a year or two of that. It was years ago, and give him the opportunity. But if Masvidal wins, either way, we're going to ask you the question about Colby Covington. I think Covington should fight Masvidal next, no matter what. And heck, let's make that the Ultimate Fighter entertainment.
Oh my God, you would need some triple the security team. Jesus, these dudes would literally stick each other. As much as they were friends at one point, they're gonna fight. They will fist fight as soon as they see each other. So I don't know if that's gonna happen.
It's about the money.
But I'm with you, Schmo. I think they should do the Ultimate Fighter together and scrap it out at the end. I mean, that's a real grudge match. Like, these dudes are once friends. It was like me and Brandon Moreno. When Brandon trained with Benavidez, I asked, I wanted to fight, and I went up to him. I told him, "Hey, why don't we just fight, dude?" You know what I mean? And of course, you know how that is, dude. When there's a rivalry or something happens, you guys take it on the most political way, fighting. Why not?
Yes, absolutely. What's next for Rose and Weili?
What's next for Rose, man? I think Rose is probably more likely going to fight Carla Esparza, the only girl that has beaten her, Schmo, and the reason why Carla Esparza is dangerous because that's all she pretty much does is wrestle. And as we saw in the past, that's how she beat her. And she's got two good bases out of the 4. Wrestling and jiu-jitsu. She's dangerous up top, man. Like, she comes from the 10th planet. Like, she knows her submissions. So I think that's the next fight for Rose. And for Zhang Weili, I mean, why not give her maybe the Brazilian fighter, Marina? I think she fights Rodriguez. I think that's a great fight for her. When her baby gets back in line for a title shot. I mean, it was a split decision that she lost, Schmo, and a lot of people are saying that she actually won.
So here's the Schmo's responses to all 3 of those things. If you have the Ultimate Fighter of Colby Covington and you have Jorge Masvidal, that's how you convert getting the casual fans to the diehard fans. That's the type of fight to change and catapult the popularity of the sport. Let's ride it. With Rose fighting the Cookie Monster, excellent. If Rose isn't already satisfied to you as the greatest strawweight 115-pounder ever, you got Joanna, whatever you think it is, then if she beats Cookie Monster, the first ever champion in this division, the person to beat her, one of the only people to ever beat her, right? Then she wins it. She's for sure 100%, no doubt, the greatest 115-pounder UFC history, no doubt. Weili, you say Rodriguez, love that fight, but why not have the rematch of the best fight of, was it 2019 to early 2020? Joanna Jędrzejczyk 2. Weili, let's go.
I like it. I forgot about that one, Shamo. I think you're absolutely right, dude. I would love to see Joanna and Zhang Weili. I mean, that was a fight of the year in 2020. I mean, that was a fight and a half. So if you could run it back that way, it seems like Joanna's I think she's just having fun in life right now. So I'm not even sure if she's coming back.
She deserves it too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so
she's a Hall of Famer. She is a future Hall of Famer.
If Schmo said it, she is. But I think she needs to. If she's not ready to come back, don't come back because there's something. I think she's just enjoying life. So it's the same thing with me. Exactly. As much as I would love to see that fight, it's all about her.
Absolutely. Now let's go over to the cringe corner and an upbeat cringe corner. Did you see Chris Barnett? His dance moves off the chart already. Dana White acknowledges that too. But the front flip after the wheel kick KO. This guy's a riot. I know he was matched up against Ben Rothwell, I believe, in his UFC debut early on. And this is that first UFC win in the Mecca, in the Garden, where Jordan used to score over 50. And that was a big deal. He even referenced Jordan. Chris Barnett, next time you got to stick the landing. Cringe corner.
And now, Schmo, it's time for my favorite segment of the show. Goated. I have to give it to none other than the one and only, the only fighter in boxing history, the super middleweight, the first in history champion of the world, Canelo Alvarez. I mean, this guy he's got over, I think, 60, 70 fights, Schmo, and he's putting a beating on people. Like, he's not just winning like Floyd Mayweather by decision. Canelo Alvarez is stopping his opponents. And this weekend with Caleb Plant, man, he laid it. 11th round finish. He knew that he wanted to get this dude out of it. He said what he was going to do, and that's all she wrote. So this segment, I got to give it to none other than Canelo Saul Alvarez.
And let's just say this about Canelo. The boss man, Dana White, bet $100K that he'd get the knockout or the stoppage, and he did. He won Dana some cash. And let's talk about Canelo in the realest of terms. It's no longer is he one of the greatest boxers in Mexican history. Is he one of the best boxers in world history? And that's absolutely the conversation you have with this man. And let's just say this. Hearts out to Caleb Plant. Hell of a warrior. Went, 11 rounds? Or stopped in the 11th round? I mean, this guy is the first boxer the Schmo ever interviewed. Caleb Plant, Caleb Sweet Hands Plant, to get the first L. He was the IBF super middleweight champion. To get it by Canelo, kudos to him. He's the man. What's your name?
I am Triple C.
I am the Schmo. We will deliver, and we are